Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Suhail. I'm going to start a series of lecture on the basic microbiology and on the end of this subject course you will be able to get that the what type of questions are asked by the American Society of Clinical Pathology for the certification of the medical laboratory scientist. So when we talk about any subject, we have the certain topics that we have to cover. And in this particular lecture, we are going to discuss the history of microbiology. There are some Koch postulates, and I'll end up on the microscope after the discussion of the application of microbiology. When we define the subject microbiology, the microbiology we have to emphasize on the two terms. Basically, number one, microorganisms are the tiny objects that can't be seen with the naked eye. And the number second is we have to have some magnifying objects to visualize the microorganisms. So when we tell these two terms in our definition is complete. Microbiology, the study of microorganisms. And the organism we cover under the headings of microbiology are the viruses, bacteria, fungi, algae, and the protozoa. To study any subject, we have to put the attributes to the scientists who put their efforts and the struggles and they have a lot of achievements and they pick the subject and to a level that we are studying today, microbiology. So there are the lot of scientists. I've selected the four or the five just to put the attributes to them. Robert Hooke said that the smallest unit of life is the cell, just like the basic unit of building is the bricks. After that, there was the Anthony Leavenworth who observed the microbes for the first time under the microscopes, and he draw some pics on the cloth at that time, and now these his pics are circulating in all over the books. He said that the he because at that time there was the only concept of the animals and the plants, so he considered that the organisms he looked under the microscopes are more similar to the animals, so he called those microbes as the animalcules. Louis Pasteur was a great scientist who nullified the concept of the spontaneous generation. Spontaneous generation was the big hurdle and the obstacle in the scientific inventory because everything was seized, all the inventions, all the discoveries were seized due to the concept of the spontaneous generation. So after a lot of experiments and the struggles, he nullified the concept of the spontaneous generation and opened the horizons for the new scientific inventions. He also developed the vaccines like the chicken cholera, anthrax, and the rabies, and he also said that the microbes can cause the fermentation and the spoilage. Edward Jenner is the great name in the field of immunology and the vaccination. He first developed the vaccine against the smallpox and injected into the human body. Alexander Fleming is another name who discovered the penicillin, and after this discovery, we have a lot of antibiotics. We have a new antibiotics, and we modified the existing antibiotics. But whenever we discover the antibiotic, we follow the same criteria, procedures, and the SOPs that were described by the Alexander Fleming. Though the discovery was just an incident, but this led a world towards this led the world towards the discovery of the other antibiotics and made Alexander Fleming a great scientist. After that, there was the Koch. He was the great scientist, and what he did, he discovered or he established a relationship between the host and parasite. If today we see that gastritis is an infection, gastritis is due to the pathogen E. coli or the bacteria E. coli. So the relationship that this particular pathogen is the causative agent of this disease or this infection This relationship was established by evaluating these pathogen and the parasite on the Koch postulates. So, what are these Koch postulates? These are the causative agent or the pathogen must be present in all the affected organisms or the infectious organisms that undergo the infection but absent in the healthy individuals. These postulates have the two parts. Number one, the pathogen is present in all the healthy individual, in all the ill individuals and absent in all the healthy individuals. And the number second is the agent must be capable of being isolated and purified in the laboratory. Laboratory should be capable to purify the organisms and to isolate it. And number third, when this purified pathogens is injected into the healthy individuals must get the disease. And number four, the pathogen must be isolated from the second infected host. So you can understand is better by these diagrams. This is the infected mice. You can see in the red color, and the infection is due to these pink colored bacteria, for example. And this is the first step, and these bacteria are present in all the health in this absent. These are present in all the ill individuals, and they are absent from the healthy individuals. Number first point. Number second, when the blood was drawn and sent into the laboratory isolate it bacteria and purify in the purification in the pure form. And when this bacteria is suspended and injected into the healthy mice, this is the third step, and the healthy mice got the same disease as that of this mice. So when the blood of this mice was sent to the laboratory, so they reported the same microorganisms as those were in the first or the in the first mice. So these are the four postulates of the Koch postulates, and it helps her to establish the relationship between the host and the parasite, that the what bacteria, what fungi, or the what pathogen is responsible for the particular infection. So this is the great discovery of the Koch. After discussion, after discussing contribution of the scientists, now we going to the why we study the microbiology and what are the applications of the microbiology. I just want to put an example over there. If we talk about the production of the insulin, what was before the advanced microbiology and how we produce the insulin today, then you will be able to understand the how important microbiology is for us. Previously, what we used to do is we used to grow the mice. After a certain period of the growth, that might be probably in the months, we slaughter the mouse and isolate its pancreas, and then we crush it and isolate the insulin from the pancreas. So this was the procedure. This was a laborious procedure that we have to put a lot of effort, a lot of time, a lot of cost to get a very small quantity of insulin. And now today what we do, we isolated the gene that were responsible for the insulin, and we put it into the genome of the E. coli. So E. coli has to translate it or has to produce the insulin because it is the part of its genome. We put it into the genome of the E. coli, and the insulin is not useful for the bacteria. So the bacteria excrete it into the cell. So we grow the bacteria, and after the certain hours, because the generation time is just 20 minutes, after the hours, what we do would have we harvest the insulin from the bacteria, and in the very short time of in the very a short span of the time, and but putting only a very little amount of the time and the amount and the cost, we can get a lot of insulin. So you can see that these procedures, that what are the production before the advancement in the microbiology, and how the microbiology along with the molecular biology evaluate this procedure or the evolve this procedure to the current practice that we are going. And similar the application in the public health, we could know whenever someone is infected or got the infection, so we have to isolate the what pathogen is causing the infection and how can it be treated with antibiotics. So these are the application of the public health. And in the food health, what bacteria do, they partially ferment our food items, and they put the taste and the nutrition value to these food stuff like the coffee beer, curd, and the cheese. And we can bacteria or the fungi are basically the factories for the human beings. If we put the single or the simple gene into the genome, so they start producing whatever we need from those microorganisms. They can ferment the plant's material or the biomaterial and convert into the ethanol and the methanol, and we can use it for the biofuel. And similarly, antibiotics, hormones, and enzymes, and the many other biopharmaceutical products can be obtained from the microorganisms at the industry level. So these are some of the applications of the microbiology. So I am going to end up the lecture with the definitions of the microscopes. There are the three types of the microscope commonly. First is simple microscope. This is the simple lens, and this is not widely used in the laboratory. Second one is the compound microscope. It has the two type of the lens and it is widely used in the diagnostic laboratory. And number third one is the electron microscope. These is very state of the art sophisticated instrument. And what we do when we want to reveal the details of the cell membrane of the bacteria, for example, or the internal structure of the bacteria, so we use the electron microscope. This is used to reveal the ultra deep details of the microorganisms. And what we commonly use in the microbiology are the compound microscope. So I just want to describe some parts of the microscopes. What we do is we put the bacteria on the glass slides and we color it or they stain it, and then we put that slide on this stage. We turn on the light passes through the condenser that condense the light, and the light passes from the slide having the bacteria, and when it's passed through these objective lens, so the image is built over there. And when we see the image from the ocular lenses, the image can be magnified from the 100 times to the 1,000 times depending upon the number of lens we are using and the type of lens we are using. So we can magnify the objects, we can magnify the bacteria or the objects using this compound microscope in the routine laboratory practices. So these are the some of the introductions, applications, and a little bit about the microscope. In the next lecture, I will classify the pathogens, and then we will go further in the next coming lectures. Thank you very much.